Michael Carrick is facing an unexpected headache in the shape of Anfernee Dijksteel. The fullback was a player who was heavily tipped with a move away from Middlesbrough over the summer. It seemed like his days at the club were very much numbered, but his performances this season have really caused a problem for Carrick after playing his way back into his plans. Now, if you are enjoying what I'm doing on the channel, it's exclusively Middlesbrough content from this point forward. So please do hit like on the video and hit subscribe as well if you were interested in seeing more. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Anfernee Dijksteel this season and whether you think he deserves a new contract as well. I'm very interested to hear what you've got to say. But yeah, as far as Dijksteel's concerned, it's definitely a situation which Michael Carrick didn't see coming. He was a player who was pretty much made available for transfer over the summer. Now, he arrived at the club a few years back. He's going into the final year of his contract at the Riverside. And given that he's barely played under Michael Carrick, it seemed almost inevitable that he would have been leaving over the summer or at some point in the future. Now, the situation was a little bit tricky, I guess, in that over the summer, Middlesbrough's defensive options were somewhat limited. So Dijksteel would, in an ideal world, probably have been sold. Someone would have come in for him. Middlesbrough would have been able to recoup a little bit of money for him. He would have moved on and been able to play regular first-team football in the Championship because he is a good, decent Championship-level player. That's what we thought going into this season. But what happened was due to injuries to Tommy Smith. Obviously, we've had Luke Ayling, but there was also a few problems with the likes of Rav van den Berg at the start of the season, Darragh Lenihan, Dale Fry. All of these sort of fitness situations sort of amalgamated in Anfernee Dijksteel being kept around the club because there was just that feeling that Middlesbrough might need him as backup, particularly during these first few months of the season. Now, some of those players are coming back, some of them are still out injured, but as far as Dijksteel's concerned, he could not have done any better with the opportunities that he's been given so far this season. His first opportunity came against Leeds United in the Carabao Cup. He was, quite frankly, unplayable that night at Elland Road in that 3-0 victory. He scored a goal, which was a brilliant finish, something that I did not expect from Dijksteel. I was at the game and I had to do a bit of a double take to see if it was actually him because it was an incredibly composed finish after running down the flank. He's played a few more times, most notably in the most recent game against Norwich City at Carrow Road, and once again he put in a really solid performance at right back. Luke Ayling was left out of the starting 11. He was on the bench and he came back in, but Luke Ayling has been the player who's been playing at right back primarily this season. But I think as Middlesbrough start to look ahead, they've got a few days now before the next match against Coventry City at the weekend, and then they've got QPR just after that. I do think that it's a situation that Michael Carrick will really need to look at because he has spoken about it previously, the form of Dijksteel and the fact that after his impressive performances earlier on in the season, he did feel awful for leaving him out of the team for the next match. But that is something that Michael Carrick will have to weigh up in terms of Dijksteel's long-term future, but also the immediate needs of the team. Now, there's no doubting that Dijksteel has put in some really good performances. They've been good, probably above expectation, you could say, based on what Middlesbrough fans have seen from him over the last few seasons. I don't think any supporter would have really batted too much of an eyelid if he left on a permanent basis over the course of the summer. But now things are looking a little bit different. Luke Ayling, he was outstanding in the second half of last season, and he's been decent enough during the first couple of months of this season, but nothing really outstanding. He's had a couple of injury problems as well. And I think going into the match with Coventry, I think there's going to be a really big decision that Carrick needs to make in terms of whether Luke Ayling comes back into the team or whether Dijksteel gets an opportunity to prove once again what he's capable of doing. Ayling offers a huge amount to Middlesbrough's team. We all know what he can do on the pitch in terms of his defensive play, but also his ability to get forward and to whip balls into the cross. That's something that he's really good at, and something which, despite getting a little bit older, he can still offer a huge amount moving forward as well. But Dijksteel's performances have been so solid. He's never really been known as a kind of attack-minded right back, but where he has done really well is pushing forward so far this season. I mentioned about his goal against Leeds United, which was outstanding. Against Norwich, he played a really key role in one of Tommy Conway's goals as well. It was a counter-attacking move from a Norwich corner. Dijksteel got the ball on the edge of Middlesbrough's penalty area, played it out to Ben Doak on the left, and he broke with speed as he does. Dijksteel not only kept pace with him, he was up there as one of the supporting attackers, which was quite unexpected when you thought when you looked to see who the options were that were around him. Doak played it to Dijksteel on the edge of the area, and it was quite incredible, really. You sort of expect when Anfernee Dijksteel picks up the ball on the edge of the box that as a defensive player, he might not necessarily know what to do with it, or it might take slightly too long to make a decision. But the ball was played to him, and you could see Dijksteel having a look around to see who the options were around him, and that meant that he was able to make a really swift decision. Ball came to him. He looked to his right. He saw that Tommy Conway was there waiting for the ball. So he was able to pick up the ball and place a perfectly weighted pass through to Conway. And he was able to slot it home for one of Middlesbrough's goals against Norwich. So there was real composure there, and something which I personally hadn't really seen from Dijksteel during his time at the club so far. So, yeah, his performance was great. He's done some really impressive things and put in some performances which have gone over and above so far this season. But I think at the moment, he hasn't really been given the opportunity to follow that up with a run of games. Now, potentially, that opportunity could come now. It would be a little bit harsh, you've got to say, if Anfernee Dijksteel was dropped once again for Luke Ayling to come back into the team. And there's not really a lot more that Dijksteel can be doing with his opportunities in the Middlesbrough team so far this season. So it would be harsh if he was to be dropped against Coventry. It's a difficult one because I personally think that Luke Ayling offers generally a lot more to the team in terms of leadership and experience, and he's a much bigger personality on the pitch, and something which I think Middlesbrough need, because I do think that against Norwich we did sort of lack that experience and leadership, and that's maybe how the game ran away from us a little bit in the second half. But it would be very harsh for Dijksteel to be dropped. So it is an interesting dilemma that Michael Carrick's facing, not just in the short term in terms of whether he plays against Coventry, but also longer term as well, because as I mentioned, his future at the club was very much in doubt. It seemed like he was an absolute goner over the summer, and given that his move didn't materialise, it felt like he was definitely be moving on in January, as that would be Middlesbrough's last chance to recoup some money for him. But yeah, given his performances, there's every chance that he could stick around beyond January. Could he even do enough to earn a new contract at the club? But that will be up to Middlesbrough, and that will be up to the player himself, because given his performances this season, he has every right to be playing regular first-team football for a club in the Championship or an equivalent level. He's clearly shown that he's got the hunger to fight back into Middlesbrough's plans. He's clearly a player who can play comfortably at Championship level, and so that's something that he should be doing. He's now, I think he's 28 years of age now, Dijksteel, so he does want to be playing regular first-team football, so he's not going to be satisfied with just playing bit parts here and there, and that's something which means that the next few weeks for Dijksteel at Middlesbrough are going to be very, very interesting indeed. So let me know in the comments below what you think of Dijksteel's performances this season, and whether you think that he should start against Coventry. It is quite an interesting debate. I do think it's going to split supporters a little bit over what the plan should be for him, but drop into the comments below. Let me know what you think, and if you have enjoyed this video, when you're wanting to see more in terms of Middlesbrough content, then please do hit subscribe as well, and I will catch up with you very soon.